welcome to the show. I am so excited to get cooking today. Now, this recipe is a little bit of a recipe mashup because I sometimes have a lot of trouble making decisions in life. And this is kind of like a chicken pot pie, but sort of Spanikopita-ish because we did a Spanikopita early on in the show and y'all loved it so much. But then I'm also making it kind of like a savory cobbler. I'm calling it my Spanikopita-ish chicken pot pie. So I'm very excited about it. So the first thing we need to do to get to work on this delicious dish is work on those greens. So I've got a whole bunch of Swiss chard here, as well as one of those bags of cooking spinach. They're about 227 grams. I love using cooking spinach. It's a little more hearty, obviously, than baby spinach, and it cooks down beautifully and it keeps its nice green color. So I've just wilted that over about medium heat with a little splash of water. If you need to, pop a lid on there. That'll help it wilt down. Really, really good. Now, I added this Swiss chard. Swiss chard is not in my normal Spanikopita recipe, but the number of people who come in being like, where's the Swiss chard? You gotta put it in a Spanikopita. So there you go, my friends. There it is. All right. Now, if you wanted to do this all with spinach, I would use 2 bags of that spinach, and that would be perfect. But once it's wilted, I want to remove this from the pan and pop it into a strainer or a sieve just to get some of that moisture out, because this stuff has a lot of water in it. The thing I like really about cooking spinach as opposed to baby spinach, when you try cooking baby spinach, it disappears into nothing. Cooking spinach holds up a little bit. Now, I'm just gonna transfer that on into here. Get as much as you can out of that pan, just to keep that bright green color. All right, now I'm gonna grab a big spoon and I'm gonna give this a little bit of a press just to get some of that water and moisture out. Like, there is a good amount of liquid in here and we wanna get as much out as possible because that liquid doesn't have a ton of flavor. So just give it a bit of a press and set that aside to let it do its thing. While that does its thing, I'm gonna get to work on the chicken pot pie filling situation. So yeah, I'm very excited. Also, this is a 1-pan dish. You do everything in this pan and you're good to go. So it's always wonderful. So in that pan over about medium heat, I'm gonna toss in about 3 tablespoons of butter. I'm just using regular old butter here. You can use salted or unsalted, whatever you've got on hand. If you want to as well, that's about 3 tablespoons. Yeah, we got it. That's gonna go in there. If you wanted, you could also use oil. I like the flavor of butter though, and it kind of brings you back to that flaky, delicious, buttery phyllo for a Spanikopita. So I'm just gonna let that melt down. And into there, I wanna add in an onion. I've got an onion here that I've diced up nice and fine. If you like a chunkier onion, go for it. But I'm gonna toss that baby on in. And then season that up with a little bit of salt and pepper. Now, at this point, the salt isn't really for making things taste salty. It kind of just draws a little bit more of that moisture out of those onions, helping them cook down quicker and get more oniony and delicious in flavor. The pepper's just for flavor, though. We're just adding that for flavor because it's always good. All right, give that a little bit of a mix up, get that butter melting. Now, I would want to cook this onion down for about 3 to 4 minutes, just until it's starting to soften and get a little bit golden brown around the edges. But just to speed things up today, I'm gonna add in my garlic now. So I've got 3 cloves of garlic here, already peeled. You're good to go. To be honest, when I'm at home, this is a job that Aaron does. I'll be making dinner and I just hand him a bulb of garlic and I'm like, peel it, put it in a little container and you're good to go, because I hate peeling garlic. It's kind of my nightmare, so, if you've got someone else to do it, why not? And to be honest, if you want, you can use that jarred garlic. I'm not gonna be mad at you. Feel free to pop it in there. It's got a little bit of a different flavor, somehow tastes less punchy, but if that's what you use, go for it. Now, I'm just grating this right on into that pan, just to get that flavor right in there. Garlic's a funny thing. The more you mince it up, the stronger it tastes. So if I were to slice this garlic and then cook it down, you get a really nice sweet garlic flavor. But since I'm mincing it, that punchy, delicious garlickiness is gonna go through every little bit of this delicious pot pie. All right. Also, grating garlic, I always think it takes no time. It takes a second. We're just watching. I wanna wonder how much viz there is of me grating garlic on TV. Because I do it a lot. All right, just tap that on in. And give that a little bit of a mix. Now, I want that garlic to just cook for about 30 seconds, just to start cooking off that spiciness, but I don't want it to burn. So at this point, I'm gonna start building up the sauce or the stewiness of this chicken pot pie. So into there, I'm gonna add in some flour. Essentially, I'm making a roux. I've got 3 tablespoons of butter in there that we're cooking that onion and garlic in. So I'm gonna add in 3 tablespoons of all-purpose flour. Just scatter that right on over everything. And you want to toast this, because what's better than bread? Toast, right? And toasting it just cooks off that raw flour flavor. Get a whisk, give that a bit of a whisk up. Things are gonna clump up a little bit, kind of get a little funky looking, but that is good. This is a roux, and we wanna thicken that roux up. Give it a little toast for about a minute. And now we're gonna add a liquid to make a nice, delicious, creamy, stewy sauce. So the first thing I need is about 2 cups of chicken broth. You can use low sodium, whatever you've got on hand. If you got homemade, good for you. I don't. So I'm just using this. So I'm just gonna measure out 2 cups and pop that on in. And if this clumps up, honestly, don't beat yourself up. It's all good. It'll cook out. I know people say you gotta really whisk it just so you don't get those lumps, but lumps happen in life, and that's okay. So 2 cups of that broth go in, as well as about half a cup of milk. This brings the creaminess. If you really wanted to go big, you could use cream, but this brings that creamy, delicious kind of chicken pot pie vibe. So half a cup of milk goes in, looking beautiful. Then I'd wanna bring that up to a simmer, and all of that roux is gonna just kind of balloon up and give you a thick and delicious sauce, which we just so happen to have right here, which I'm just gonna transfer over. It looks creamy and good and wonderful. I'm very, very excited about this little number. All right, pop it on the heat. And now while that comes up to heat, I am going to talk about chicken. So you can make your own chicken. You can cook up a roast chicken. You could cook up a couple of chicken breasts, but I'm just using a rotisserie chicken from the grocery store. I removed all that, right? I know, you're welcome, everybody. I'm excited. That rotisserie chicken is really, really great. I take off all the skin because it does have that barbecue flavor. If you get a little bit of the barbecue flavor in there though, not gonna hurt anybody. But I've just shredded that up, dark meat and light meat. I'm just gonna add that on into this delicious sauce along with those greens. So if you didn't want to make this a chicken pot pie, if you did want to go vegetarian, you could swap out this chicken and that chicken broth, use like a vegetable broth as opposed to the chicken broth, and then instead of chicken, you could throw in some delicious kidney beans. Now I'm tossing in those greens as well. They're going right on in. Give that a little bit of a stir up. And while that starts to kind of come together and get creamy and bubbly and delicious, I'm just gonna add in a few more kind of flavor boosters here. So over here, I have got some fresh herbs. You know me and my fresh herbs, I love them so much. If you wanna use dry, go for it. But with Spanikopita, you really want dill. Dill is amazing. So I want about a 1/4 cup of fresh dill, and then about 2 tablespoons of chopped up parsley. If you were gonna use dried dill, I'd maybe use only about a tablespoon. Usually the ratio is about like 1/3 of the amount. So you could use a tablespoon plus a teaspoon, because that's 1/3 of a 1/4 cup, if anyone's wondering. Just give that a little bit of a chop. And then I'm just gonna toss that right on into that pan with all of that delicious chicken, those greens. Before I mix that in though, I want a little bit more flavor. So I'm gonna toss in some lemon zest, because I love that zest. It gives you that bright lemon flavor. And it just makes this stew taste less stewy. It gives it a bit more of a springy summer vibe. And I don't know about you, but chicken pot pie, it's still a springtime food. Give it a tap in. Toss in a little bit of lemon juice just to cut through everything. And then I'm also gonna add in some chili flakes just for a little bit of heat. We made this beautiful chicken stew before the break. It's nice and thick and creamy. It's got chicken in there, a rotisserie chicken from the grocery store, which is always a good thing, as well as some chard and spinach, all the flavors of Spanikopita without feta. And I'm Mary Berg. I'm not gonna give you something that should have cheese and not put cheese in it. So, for the feta, I'm gonna make a delicious feta biscuit. Now, these are so tasty. They're salty, they're crispy, they're golden, and I'm very excited about them. So to get started on the biscuits, I've got 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour in this bowl, as well as 2 teaspoons of baking powder and a little bit of salt. Now, into there, I'm also gonna add in just a little bit of garlic powder. This is like my secret ingredient anytime I'm doing a savory biscuit. It kind of makes it taste like those biscuits that you get at like a seafood restaurant. Yeah, but these ones have feta. So just like about a 1/2 teaspoon of that gets added on in. Give that a little bit of a mix up. And then we're gonna start kind of building up this biscuit situation. So we've got our dry done. And then for the fat in these biscuits, I'm going in with classic butter. But as opposed to popping it in pats and using my fingers to pinch it in, which is totally good, I've actually grated my butter for this recipe. It makes it really, really quick. And I've grated up about 1/3 of a cup of butter. You want it to be ice cold. You don't want it to melt, because that's gonna give you flaky, delicious biscuits. So just pop that on into those dry ingredients. Give that a little bit of a toss around, and that right there is done. You are good to go with that butter in there, which is always a dream. Now, I did promise you feta cheese, and yes, there's 1/3 cup of butter in here, but there's 1 to 1.5 cups of crumbled feta. You do you. If you want to go less, go for it, but like at my house, we go big with cheese. So I've got 1.5 cups of feta here, and I'm just adding that on in. The feta gives you those little pockets as well. It gives you a really nice, kind of flaky, delicious, cheesy biscuit. You can't really see it when it's mixed in. It almost looks like butter, but oh boy, is salty and delish. Now I'm also gonna add in some dill. Just about 1/2 or 1/4 cup of dill into here as well. Because again, if you're making spanakopita, dill is a key ingredient. It's fresh, it's bright, and it's so, so tasty. If you wanted to, again, you could use dried. You could also put some parsley in here if you're feeling it. But I'm just gonna pop that right on in. Give that a toss together just to combine. And then we need to bring this together with a liquid. Now, typically when I'm making biscuits, I like a buttermilk. But sometimes I don't have buttermilk on hand. If you do have buttermilk on hand, this needs about 3/4 cup to 1 cup. But I'm gonna show you a little bit of a trick to make something that's kind of like buttermilk. So I've got a cup of milk here, and into there you just want to make it a little bit acidic, because that's gonna react with that baking powder, giving you that lift and that fluff of delicious, perfect biscuits. So you could use a little bit of vinegar, maybe about a teaspoon, but I've got lemon already from before that stew. So I'm gonna add in just about a teaspoon of lemon juice. That's gonna kind of acidify that milk and make it so it reacts better with that baking powder. So I know, right? Science. I'm tricking people. It's a good thing. Science is delicious, so you know. So I'm just gonna add that right on in. I'm gonna start with about 3/4 cup, because you want this to be a kind of a stiffer biscuit dough. These biscuits almost bake up kind of like dumplings or like the top of a cobbler. So as opposed to baking them on a pan separately, we're actually gonna bake them on top of this stew that makes it into a pot pie. So for this, I would say that 3/4 cup was perfect. Give it a little bit more of a mix. And then all you wanna do is take this delicious biscuit dough and pop it on top. You could use 2 spoons or an ice cream scoop. Just a spring-loaded ice cream scoop is my favorite thing. Just pop that down, get a good scoop of that feta-y, dilly deliciousness, and just pop it right onto that stew. As these bake, they're gonna kind of slump down, they're gonna brown up on top, but then because they're on top of a stew, they're almost gonna steam from underneath. So they're gonna be fluffy and delicious, almost like a dumpling, but then crispy and golden brown on top, which there's nothing wrong with that, in my opinion. So just pop as many of these on top as you want. This is about a 1/4 cup disher. But again, you can use 2 spoons, you can do whatever you'd like. You can even just kind of pick it up and throw it on there if you want to. All that feta, all that dill. Now I'm gonna take this little number and pop it into the oven. So we're done with the stovetop portion. That's gonna go into a 425-degree oven for about 25 to 30 minutes until those biscuits are perfectly cooked through. Look at, oh, there's some biscuits already in there. Yo, we made these yesterday. I forgot to bake them off. All right. Those are going in, they're gonna be delish, and you end up with something that looks like this. It seems like we're having biscuits for dinner and for dessert today, and I'm very excited. Look at this little number though. That chicken is delish, those greens are wonderful, those feta biscuits are out of control. Now, since I didn't do the vegetarian version, I do need somebody up here to give this a taste, and why not bring out our one and only audience coordinator, Jordan. Hi, Jordan. So good to see you.
Always a pleasure.
I mean, you're always on the other side of the camera.
I know, right?
But we never get to talk on TV except for when you eat.
Except for when I eat, and it's my favorite time of the day when I eat.
I'm not gonna lie, I always tell everybody Jordan's the one eating all the food. All right, you wanna give it a taste?
I do.
Okay.
This looks amazing.
I'm excited, I'm excited.
Okay.
Let's see what he thinks.
Drum roll, please.
Good, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, man. Nicely done. Hey, Mary here. What did you think? Drop your comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more of the good stuff.